Justice and Constitutional Affairs Minister Norbert has issued a clarification at Kyankwanzi regarding a widely circulated video that recently sparked debate online. Speaking during engagements at Kyankwanzi, Mao emphasized that the clip currently trending is an old recording and his remarks have been taken out of their original context. He explained that in the video, he was illustrating what he termed the law of unintended consequences. The idea that well-meaning actions can produce harmful outcomes when not carefully thought through. To drive this point, Mao revisited a metaphor from the clip. A pastor who, while praying for a sick patient, unknowingly kneel on the patient's oxygen pipe. Despite the patient's attempts to signal distress, the pastor fails to notice, only discovering the tragic consequences later when reading the patient's final written message at the burial. Mao clarified that the story was meant to highlight a broader issue in governance and development. He pointed to international development partners who sometimes introduce prefabricated projects into African communities without fully understanding local needs. As an example, he cited a case in Turkana, Kenya, where a fish processing factory was built for a community that neither fishes nor consumes fish, rendering the project ineffective despite significant investment. He stressed that both governments and development actors must prioritize community understanding, warning that interventions imposed without local input risk failing to uplift the intended beneficiaries. Listen to Mao.
This is a very old video, by the way. In that video, I'm talking about it. You can call it the law of unintended consequences. Sometimes you have good intentions, but they backfire. So I was telling that story about that pastor who went to see a patient in a hospital, and he decided to kneel to pray for the patient. He didn't know that he was kneeling on the oxygen pipe of the patient, and he even refused to respond to the patient's complaints until the patient finally requested for a pen and a piece of paper and wrote his agonizing message that, "Pastor, you are kneeling on my oxygen pipe." He didn't even read the note. He put it in his pocket. It was until the day of the burial that while giving his speech, the pastor told the mourners that, "I have the last words of this man. He wrote it on a piece of paper. I haven't read it, but here it is." And then he read it. "Pastor, you are kneeling on my oxygen pipe." We have some international friends, for instance, our so-called development partners. Sometimes they have what we call prefabricated projects. They bring them to our countries. Then those projects don't help us eventually. If you go to Kenya, in a place called Turkana, the international partners went there and built a very good fish factory. Then they discovered that the people of Turkana actually don't eat fish and they don't like fishing. But they had manufactured that solution in their own country. So that's an example of that kind of thing. They also built a first-class tarmac road, and the tarmac road actually has not caused development. So government also has to learn that, for instance, unless you understand the community, your interventions may actually not uplift the community. So those are the people I was referring to.
Mao's clarification has received the conversation around the viral clip, shifting focus from controversy to interpretation. Supporters argue that his explanation reinforces a crucial policy principle. Development must be context sensitive. They view his remarks as a thoughtful critique of both international aid models and domestic planning approaches that overlook grassroots realities. However, critics remain skeptical, suggesting that the clarification, while helpful, does not fully address concerns about how such insights are applied within government. Some observers argue that acknowledging the problem is only the first step. Implementation is what ultimately defines leadership. From an analytical perspective, Mao's clarification underscores a recurring dilemma in public policy. The tension between intention and impact. His oxygen pipe analogy is particularly powerful because it captures a universal truth intervention, no matter how noble, can become harmful when they ignore feedback from those affected. The Kyankwanzi clarification also highlights the speed at which old political content can be reviewed and reinterpreted in today's digital environment. In such a landscape, context becomes as important as content. Ultimately, Mao's message brought in the original video and his recent clarification points to a deeper lesson. For Uganda's development path, listening to communities is not optional, it is essential. An important clip from Museveni on corruption. Let's end by this.
So if you, the leaders, you come as clean new brooms, don't please involve yourself in corruption. Don't please, I beg you. And I also not tolerate corruption. If it's necessary to have a new war, I will have a new war. It's very bad. It diverts us. Corruption, for what? Corruption is cowardice. You fear to confront life yourself. Then you think the shortcut is stealing.